Now let's take a look at a few more authors or novelists that deserve to be recognized as impactful on the genre. Frank Herbert, for example, best known obviously for the Dune series. Many credit as a very complex written novel, and it is actually all. I think it's five sequels to it, if I'm not mistaken. And there were several movies done. He'd won both the Hugo and the Nebula for that. But he was also a very diverse writer, and also went outside writing and had many different interests, as you can see on the screen, everything from journalist to photographer to teacher. And it's amazing how many of the great authors at some point had some teaching in their background. If you haven't watched Dune, I highly recommend it. If you want to read the book, that's great too, if you've done either. But the movie didn't get enough credit, in my opinion, based on the way it was told, but I actually thought it was very good and worth noting. So Frank is definitely someone that should be on the list, and didn't have a super long life. Died, I believe, after about 66 years. So didn't quite get to fulfill probably some of the dreams he had to move forward with. Couple things. He actually had some very good quotes. Truth suffers from too much analysis. There is no escape. We pay for the violence of our ancestors. I must admit, a lot more of his quotes are dark based. I wouldn't say we'd put them on bumper stickers, a lot of them. But one I did like is, it's a wise man that does know that content man is never poor. That's always a good one. I do like that one. Now, let's move on to Ray. Ray wrote both in the sci-fi and fantasy genre. Best known for his work for Fahrenheit 451 and Martian Chronicles. Wrote many others. Wrote over 20 books and many other publications as well, like short stories and other stuff like that. He also had a couple good quotes. I love quoting some of the older authors for sure. If you hide your ignorance, no one will hit you, and you'll never learn. I love that one. I'm not in control of my muse. My muse does all the work. That one I just find interesting. But he actually did a lot of different work in the genre, and just as an example of how well known he was, based on, especially I believe Fahrenheit 451 was probably the most successful selling book, is that one of the cool things in 1971 there was an impact crater on Earth, on the moon, and it was named Dandelion Crater by the Apollo 15 astronauts, based on a book that Ray Bradbury had written, called Dandelion Wine. So obviously he had an impact in the science fiction industry to have something named after him. I thought that was pretty cool. So William Gibson, I mean, you can see the law. First of all, he coined the term cyberspace, but he was also one of the driving forces behind the subgenre cyberpunk, a genre that I personally enjoy a lot. Wrote numerous well-selling books, actually, as well as won many awards, just like many of the authors we've talked about. But actually, one of the things I didn't know, which I just learned, is that next week when we do the movie review, we picked Johnny Mnemonic. I did, and what I didn't know is actually he was the author of the book behind that. So that's interesting. That was something new I learned about when I was doing some research on him. I actually never read the book. I just watched the movie, and so yeah, that was actually something that I thought was quite good, and it's a movie that I think is fun, as well as he did predict a bunch of different things in regards to moving forward. So he definitely impacted the industry, and he too, like many of the others, had some great quotes. I'm just going to give you a couple. The future is here. It's just not widely distributed yet. Time moves in one direction, memory in another. I do like those two for sure. So, and then one more, quick one. Language is to the mind more than light is to the eye. I think that's great. And I mean, many people credit part of our differentials, our ability to how we communicate with others over the rest of the animal kingdom. So, anyway, just wanted to mention William and the fact of his power and input into the cyberpunk era. Okay. Orson Scott Card. First of all, he's won most of the major awards as well. A very good public speaker. Again, another professor. Again, got into the movie industry. Hopefully you've read some of the Ender Game series. He's actually written numerous different series, long past just Ender's Game. But the movie was well done too. If you haven't watched Ender's Game, it's a great movie, and I think it's a good moral challenge after reading it, or watching it. The decision that has to be made, sacrifice of one for the many type idea, I think definitely comes to mind in regards to that movie for me. So these are some of the authors that may not have been the big into the history side. Many of them are still alive today and having completed their contributions, but they're definitely worth noting as important sci-fi authors in present day.